Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Own Your Own Freedom. If you don't know my content, go ahead and subscribe down below while hitting the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new updates coming down the pike, because not only are there new videos, but a whole lot more is coming. If you check out the description box, you'll find a link to my Own Your Own Freedom community on the app called Wix, probably the most convenient way for my viewers to get so much more out of this community. You'll find there, once you download the app, that I've posted some blogs there, more in-depth, extensive content and advice on navigating this toxic world that we live in by making freedom your lifestyle. You can click on the link to my website, which is coming along nicely, and you'll also see that I'm offering what I call coffee consultations, which are sort of like low-key, casual, single or group therapy sessions, but at the fraction of the price. Let me know in the comments if that interests you. I'm still working on the payment processing aspect, but that should be coming along and running very soon. More information to come. You'll also see in the description that on the app, I'm beginning a podcast channel of all the videos I release here so that you can listen on the go. So a whole lot coming. Like I said, let me know in the comments if this interests you. But yo, this is like... You can leave comments on my blog. You can purchase consultations. You can even contact me directly and talk to fellow survivors. This is how we get connected and stay connected. Plus, whoever signs up first will get a promo code for 50% off their first coffee consultation. But I digress. With that said, enjoy the video. So before I jump right into all the different things that have sort of led up to me making this video, because there's been a lot and I've been debating whether I want to make a sort of, not really political, but politically leaning video on my channel or not. I've sort of been thinking about a lot of different things. But I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I won't mention any particular names, but I will not sugarcoat anything for you. And I think the only way that I could possibly be more honest with you is basically to mention names, but I'm not going to. The best I can do is simply not mention specific names. I don't want to trigger anybody. But before I get into that, as I just want to preface by saying that as survivors of narcissistic abuse or abuse from any other toxic individuals, our eyes should be wide open. Our eyes should be very aware, and our eyes should be trained to identify sources of abuse and manipulation. We should be devouring research on NPD and other personality disorders. We should be even maybe going to therapy, talk therapy, being, besides the obvious of being introspective and learning about our patterns that maybe have enabled or left room for manipulators to come into our life. We should be learning maneuver skills to defend our boundaries and limit contact with toxic people. All of this doesn't just encourage our healing, but it makes us understand the broad scope of manipulation in human society. We're not just dealing with individual family members or colleagues or friends or exes or whatever the case may be. We're not just dealing with individual people that happen to have caused havoc in our life. We're dealing with a system of behavioral conditioning. Behavioral conditioning is not something that just came about, just by interaction with human beings. This is a long developed science of how to, even in a mass level, control people, control their responses, control what they buy, control what they say, what they think, what they believe. And the more that our world, actually I would say the larger our world gets, the larger our view of our world gets, the more opportunity there is for this massive, broad behavioral conditioning. So, like I said, narcissists didn't just read a book and learn about how to manipulate people. They learn by watching and imitating what works. Behavioral conditioning works. It works on a small and positive level when you talk about like a parent with a child. If you And if you repeat something to a child, eventually it will become a part of their belief system, and they will stick by it. So if you teach them, always wash your hands, and you say it repeatedly throughout the day, always wash your hands, then it'll become a part of their daily habit, especially if you reinforce it by watching their behavior and showing them how to wash their hands in an effective way. This is just a note to the coronavirus people out there who are scared. Please just wash your hands and cover your mouth when you cough. But anyway, if you're monitoring your child's behavior in that way, then there's a great likelihood it will become a part of their natural development in daily life, and they will continue having that spoken into their head. It's the same thing with anything else. On a larger scale, it's the same thing as telling everybody the world is going to end in 12 years. If you repeat it enough, it will become a part of people's life, and they will be scared and full of anxiety, and they will stop doing things that will make society run in a positive and productive way. But that's just one example. I made this video because one of the things that really frightens me when I see other YouTubers in the survivor community is that they sometimes will make videos about current events, or they will mention, current events in their videos. Maybe the video is not completely about it, but they mention it. And they don't even realize that, they have no idea that the opinion they are telling their viewers, or the perspective that they're telling their viewers, because it's not even thought about, it's automatic. That the opinion or the perspective they're telling their viewers is a result of media conditioning, media gaslighting and manipulation, forcing them to believe into a reality and respond emotionally to that said reality. These YouTubers are like iRobots. They're repeating the same narrative that almost the entire freaking world has bought into and promoted via TV. Turn it off. That's my lesson to you. That if you get nothing else out of this video, get this. Turn it off. Turn off the TV. Turn off your notifications for the news. Turn off the notifications on Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook and all these different other outlets. Turn it off. Unsubscribe from those news channels. Unsubscribe from those newspapers and those stupid magazines that decide they suddenly want to start talking about politics within the last 3 years. Turn it off. The reason why I'm saying this is because if you've ever lived in a house or, any sort of environment, been in any sort of environment with a narcissist, especially a household though, think about the dynamics that made it dysfunctional. First, you have, I'm trying to narrow this down a little bit because there's a lot of different aspects to a narcissistic home, but these are the main ones. I have 6 of them. First, you have the narrative, which is the strong father, the loving and supportive mother, and the perfect children. Yay. That's the narrative. If I can apply it to what's going on in today's society, I would say the strong father would be the strong government. And I don't mean just this current, government. If you're in the United States, I'm not talking about just this current administration. I'm talking about government in general. Because you can go anywhere in the world and that's the narrative they're touting. You can go to China, especially China. You can go to New Zealand. You can go to Canada. You can go to Brazil. The narrative is there's a strong government who knows what they're doing. They're all wise, all knowing, and they have a very, very supportive mother. And the mother is the supportive media that will give whatever sort of indoctrination and whatever sort of propaganda that needs to be given so that everyone falls in line. That's the supportive mom. Then they have the perfect children, the perfect citizenry, the perfect people governed with under the guise of believing that they are, number one, either free, taken care of, protected. All of these things. We live under the guise that is reality. So that's the first one. There's the narrative. Then there's the propaganda, number 2. The propaganda is the parents only have good intentions, and anyone that's falling against these good intentions are evil. You have, the propaganda that dad is wise, all wise and perfect. He rarely makes mistakes. That's why they don't, I mean, if you ever had a narcissistic father, I had one, and he never never told any negative stories about himself. Why? Because he's a narcissist. But I mean, because it would go against the narrative. It would go against the narrative that he is perfect, all-knowing, wise, that everything good comes from him, that he never makes mistakes. And a part of that propaganda is that the kids don't know enough and are unequipped to make their own decisions. That no one in the world absolutely can really be independent and really govern themselves individually, because without the government, you would not survive. And that's the same way that we're being fed right now, is that everything that we do in this world is a product of our government. Everything we have, every opportunity we have, comes from our wonderful government. All of our protections, all of our safety nets come from our wonderful government, and we couldn't possibly live without them. What would we do? Then there's number 3, the indoctrination, the system of indoctrination, I would say. You have the mother and the dad completely denying the child's needs, and yet telling them that those needs have been met. That's the indoctrination. For example, say that you were really interested in sports growing up. That was me. You're really interested in sports and you wanted to do all these different things, but your parents, you always asked your dad, who happened to be a narcissist, and he never had time to support you, never wanted to go to your games, never wanted to even pay for you to get, better training or whatever the case may be in your interests. And then he would tell everyone around you, oh yeah, yes, we helped. And then he had the nerve to tell you and tell everyone else around you that he made sure that you could do all the things that you wanted to do in your life. That was the history. That's the indoctrination. That's the indoctrination of reality, I guess you could say. And then the same thing in today, if you want to apply it to what's going on in the world right now, all education, all forms of education from the top to the bottom supports the media and supports the idea that the government is always right. The government knows what they're doing. The government is perfect. It makes no mistakes. It supports that idea. It supports the narrative and the propaganda. And you never hear anything against that. Very little against that. For example, McCarthyism. In your textbooks, if you're in school or if you know any child in school or whatever the case may be, if you read about McCarthyism, it will say that McCarthy was a crazy man who was trying to warn Americans about communism in this country. I'm not in the United States right now. I'm in France, but trying to warn Americans in the United States about communism. He was trying to warn everybody about the creeping in of communist ideas and communist people from the Russian government at the time into American public, into the American system, in order to destroy America at the time. And in your textbook, it will tell you that he was a crazy man, that he was wrong. And yet now, what are we dealing with? Communism and socialism, intricately connected. So after that, you have the roles, the very defined roles in the narcissistic family that keeps the system going. You have the very observant, the black sheep, the child that is blamed for everything, that is told that they are always wrong, that is not supported, that is denied any sort of affection and care that the other children are given. Why? Because they do not align themselves with the agenda. They refuse to fall in line. Why? Because they're so observant, they see the reality of what's going on, and they call bullshit. Then you have the golden child, who submits completely to the agenda. And they're the ones that are promoted that as if they're the perfect one. They go around and there's no problems. They never get in trouble. They're the ones that get taken to all the events, to be promoted in front of the family. Like they're just they're the trophy. They fall right in line. And there's no way to convince them otherwise. Convince them that there's something going wrong. Then you have the ignored child, which was me, who never gets attention. No matter how right they are, they never get any airtime. So if you were to break this down, I would say that the current president of the United States is the black sheep. He was the wrench in the mix. He simply does not go along with what's going on in not just the United States, but in the world. I know you probably don't like him, and I'm just saying I'm not a supporter, but I'm just saying he's the black sheep. If you would consider the system with an objective view, you would see he is the black sheep. He was not supposed to get into office. And they're, with all of their might, they're trying to destroy him. Then you have the golden child, which I believe was the previous president, who got all the attention, all the accolades. Oh, he was wonderful. Everybody loved him. And yet he helped push the agenda. He helped push the entire agenda that was going on there. Nobody in the world had any problems with him. He bowed down to everyone because he pushed the agenda. He did not have an individual will of his own. He was simply there to support the agenda. Then you had the ignored child, which was pretty much every whistleblower that ever existed. I mean, a true whistleblower, not the ones that we've seen, in the past couple months. I mean, a true whistleblower that had all types of things to say, but these ones got never any airtime because they were what? Against the agenda. Then you have number 5. The result of anything that goes against the agenda is the crazy making. They will be destroyed. For example, public figures will disappear or have disappeared. They've been jailed without due trial. You have members of the public losing their jobs. You have smear campaigns against things like teenagers and college students and figures that have maybe public figures that were just trying to do their job smeared in the media. Then you have number 6, the gaslighting, which is probably the most famous of any of the narcissistic dynamics in a household, is making you believe something was said or done or occurred that really didn't happen, and convincing you that you're crazy for daring to believe otherwise. That is the reality of what's going on today. If you believe anything that's against the narrative, if you do your proper research, you will find out what exactly the narrative is. It's anything that the media collectively supports, that the education system collectively teaches kids, that you collectively see as, if you look at different degrees you could possibly obtain in university, you'll see there's a trend. If you go down the list of all the offers that they have at universities, there's a trend to what they're offering, especially the public universities. And then there's all the things that you see going on in the world. There's a trend. And it's like, if you go against that, you're evil. There are all these different names that you could be called if you're against what the narrative is. So I hope I wasn't too general. And I hope I wasn't even too specific. But the goal of what I'm saying is turn off the damn TV. Turn it off. You don't even realize the effect of all the things that they're saying to you. You're going crazy. People are going crazy in this world because they're filling their head with all of the things that the system of this world wants us to believe. They want us to believe that we desperately need them to survive, that they're the ones that are going to keep this moving, that they're the ones that are honestly, imagine, go an entire week without watching the news, without checking your notifications about news. I mean, if you have an iPhone like I do, you can block the notifications so that they don't give you anything from the New York Times or from the Hill or whatever the case may be. You can block all of that. But don't check your Twitter. Don't check your Instagram. Don't check your Facebook. Turn it all off for a week. And I promise you, your view of the world will change. If you like this content, I don't know if I want to continue to be political, but this stuff was really, really pressing, and it's way past time for me to cover it. And I probably might make another video about gaslighting because there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world, especially in the United States, but in my country, in France too. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world that just needs to be exposed. But I will continue to make videos about narcissism and my experience with toxic abuse and toxic relationships, because that's the whole goal of this channel, is to own your freedom, to own your reality. This world belongs to you. It does not your world belongs to you. It does not belong to anyone else who forces their agenda onto it. Claim it back and take it for yourself. Subscribe to this channel, like this video if you like it and it resonates with you. Leave a comment down below if you have any other ideas for videos, and I will see you on the next one.